Alright, seriously, I don't know how many more times I can mention this about Lincoln and the connection to Philadelphia and how they've been coding the Nebraska Cornhuskers and whatnot. So, this shooting today, student shoots injured principal in South Dakota. This is so close to home, it's not even funny. The principal at the school that got shot is my aunt's brother. And she actually married my dad's brother, so I'm not related to this guy, but just ridiculous, just craziness. And you know what I mean? That's just nuts. I've been talking about this like crazy, but let's break this down and look at this article here. So anyway, first thing I noticed, the video right here, 53 seconds long. Now, 3 videos ago I talked about Nebraska and how in the last game versus Southern Miss, they were coding the number 35 and 53 like crazy. It even involves Herbie because they killed the guy Dean Jones or whatever from Herbie. They killed him in the beginning of September. So then they're basically, it's all about Herbie Husker and whatnot. And like I talked about, of course, Herbie is number 53 on the movie Love Bug. Lots more stuff to all this. Like I said, I've been documenting it for a long time now, over and over and over, yet people still don't believe me. I told my mom and dad this earlier, and they just don't even want to hear it. And it's so ridiculous because it's happening. It's been happening. It just drives me crazy. Interesting too, gematria. He's a principal. Principal adds up to 53. But check this out. So the article talks about how it's near Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Harrisburg High School near Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So let's type in Sioux Falls on here. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 273. That's pretty interesting considering today is September 30th, the 273rd day of the year. Even look at the location. This is the high school here. We'll zoom out just to show you. Whatever, Sioux Falls, Harrisburg High School here. Let's just keep on zooming in here. No, remember how I was talking about the 110, how the Charleston church shooting was at 110 something, and then I talked about Fort Calhoun and nuclear something added up to 110. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories high. Osama bin Laden adds up to 110. Rockefeller, it was approved by a Rockefeller and proposed by a Rockefeller. Rockefeller adds up to 110. But look what also this road is. Sorry to get off subject there. Just keep scrolling in here. It's 273rd Street. So this school was on 273rd Street. This is the 273rd day of the year, and the article mentions Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which adds up to 273. Now what are the odds of that? No way. I mean, they choose these places in advance, and they do this. They run all this coding. There's no way. Who knows? I don't really know this guy, but you know what? I wouldn't think that there would be a lot of people who would have to lie to make this a fake thing. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't make any sense. So they had to have chose this. I don't know if they mind controlled this kid to do it or what, There's lots of different things. It's just craziness. And this isn't even the only thing. This doesn't even scratch the surface here. So Harrisburg is also in Pennsylvania. And the reason that's significant is because of the Pope coming to Philadelphia and whatnot, Pennsylvania. It all ties into the Philadelphia Trainwreck that was earlier in this year. It ties into all of the racial, civil war, domestic violence type themes they've been running in the news. Even the theater shootings, Abraham Lincoln died in the theater. Abraham Lincoln got shot with a Philadelphia Derringer. It all ties together. But anyway, let's look at the Philadelphia Trainwreck here then. For one, it was on, or whatever, 9:23 p.m. We've talked about 9:23 like crazy. They coded 9:23, and even the movie Trainwreck, Amy Schumer's character was 9 years old in the very beginning, and then the rest of the movie is 23 years later, so the 9:23. There was all kinds of train stuff in the news too. You had what was it in France? The Marines on the train or whatever. You had the guy Nicholas Winton, who died at the age of 106, and he was known for getting the Jews away from Germany or whatever on the train, and he died at 106. This train was going 106 miles per hour. It even had the engine number 601 on it. That's what it was. But anyway, also, literally, like the movie Trainwreck was just super coded too, but it happened on May 12th, also the day of a Nepal earthquake, but or aftershock. Anyway, 238 passengers died. And you remember, on the 238th day of the year was the Roanoke shooting. And literally, so here's August 26th, the 238th day of the year. It was 106 days after the Philadelphia train wreck that was all coded with 106. Even it even happened at 6:46 a.m. and the 41-year-old guy Vester Flanagan, he died 6 hours and 46 minutes later. I mean, tons of just crazy, ridiculous stuff. That for sure was fake, and to me, the videos prove it. There's no way that it wasn't pre-filmed, but whatever. Moving on, let's go back to the Philadelphia train wreck. It was an Amtrak, and what it actually is, it's called the Northeast Corridor. But the Northeast Corridor is actually a part of the Keystone service that goes from Pennsylvania to New York. But look at Keystone service then. Keystone service, it starts in Philadelphia, and then it says, or New York, whatever. But Philadelphia, and it ends in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm telling you, they're coding all of this to the Philadelphia train wreck. Even says like this is 195 miles, the Keystone service. Well, in Gematria, let's look at Keystone service. 195, and it's 195 miles long. I mean, the odds of that are ridiculous. Even in here, they talk about the 1943 train derailment on the same curved section. It was the last time one that wrecked here or whatever. And literally, I've talked about all the 43 stuff with Abraham Lincoln and even Moses and how it ties into Nebraska, because Nebraska, their fans are the Sea of Red, all kinds of stuff. Just, you have to go back and watch the other videos. I can only make 15-minute videos, and it's too much to cram in, so I want to stay on topic here. Another thing I wanted to point out, I guess, is that in 1963, the year that JFK was assassinated, there was a Pennsylvania train wreck. There's also a South Carolina church bombing, and then later that year, JFK was assassinated. And this year, we've had the Philadelphia train wreck, the church shooting in South Carolina. The only thing left is Obama to be assassinated. But, moving on here, so the day from the Philadelphia train wreck to today is 141 days apart. Now that's interesting, because the number 41 has been coded a ton lately. Like the Vester Flanagan, like I said, was 41 years old. Moses Malone, who just died at the age of 60, which also is significant. Even plutonium, that's the plutonium-239, which all goes with this year, the 239th year of the United States. It's also the 923 if you write it out as a date, because that's how they do it in other countries. Even on Back to the Future, then, the gas is plutonium, the speed's 88, and then the flux capacitor is what makes that possible, but plutonium is 141. And at the very end of that movie, the train destroys the time machine, and then Doc Brown makes the time machine out of a train. But anyway, so another trade wreck. But the other week when you had Jamal Charles fumble or whatever, Jamal Charles 41, Broncos 41, Chiefs 41, black shirts. Interesting, the Dolphins just lost 14-41, and the Dolphins have, when Nebraska gave up the black shirts, the Dolphins have that player. The first player to give up his black shirt was Zach Bowman. The Dolphins have him. They also have Indomitius Sue, Nebraska, and then Richie Incognito, the bullying scandal. Nebraska. It's all tied in. I mean, Skull and Bones, that's what the black shirts do. The Skull and Bones Society, whatever. Nebraska plays Memorial Stadium, Husker fans. Moses Malone, I mean, Shannon Lamb, the Delta State shooter, 41. He killed his 41-year-old girlfriend. Saudi Arabia, 41. He had the crane collapse. Crane, 41. Milo Hamilton, 141. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, all of these numbers connect together too, but Oh, anyway, so his name's Kevin Lean, or however you pronounce it. I don't even know, but let's check his name out in Gematria. 101. Interesting because, check this out. Philadelphia is also 101. I mean, they had to have like researched and chose these people. It's so ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, wow. That's all I can say. One of the articles I read said that he was a doctor as well, and a Pythagorean gematria. Like I said, I only used 2 ever. 60. Now 60 has been coded like crazy as well. Like Moses Malone died at the age of 60. I'll just pull him up. So the day Moses Malone died was on 9/13, which is also the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh 60, Hashanah 60. Moses Malone died at the age of 60. Abraham Lincoln adds up to 60, just like Lincoln, Nebraska. This stuff ties into it with Nebraska's new coach and Tom Osborne and whatnot. Gonna skip over that. John Boehner just announced his retirement 35 days before the day he retires, the mere 53 days before his birthday even. Santiago, Chile just had the big earthquake. That Santiago, Chile, 60. Moses Malone, just the word Malone adds up to 60. Remember the Braves fan who fell? He was 60 years old. They play at Turner Field. Turner Field, 60. Talked about all this Moses coding, and him and Abraham Lincoln both freed the slaves, and that's why they've been coding Moses. Moses is in the tribe of Levi, 60. Mina, Saudi Arabia, where you just had the huge stampede where 717 people died. Mina, Saudi Arabia adds up to 60. Also, the area code for Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is 717 even. I mean, what are the odds of that? Milo Hamilton, he died at the age of 60. The Delta State thing, that the town was actually called Sims originally, 60. Pope Benedict, 60, who's also 88 years old this year. I mean, the coding just never stops. It's so ridiculous. So, another number we've been seeing coded with a lot of this stuff is 58. And I don't have a lot of it written down, but the Roanoke shooting, Allison Parker, 58, Roanoke, Virginia, was 168, which actually is something different, but Bridgewater, 58. You had the theater shooting that was on 8/5. Also, there was one 13 days before it, the Lafayette one, which on Gregorian to Julian, that's the same day, so it's 8/5 for both of them days. Also, originally the Lafayette shooter was 58 years old in all the reports, and then they finally changed it to 59. And the coding goes more than that. I can't think of it all right now. Ties into Biff from Back to the Future and also Doc Brown. Like Biff won all of his money when he returned to 85 or whatever. He won all of his money on the 85th day of the year in 1958. His name adds up to 58, just like Doc Brown, something. I can't even remember it all. Like I said, I had previous videos. So moving on. And you know, I forgot to mention, I think this place is in Harrisburg, is in Lincoln County. What are the odds of that? Lincoln County. And it adds up to 60. And this cop right here, his name is Sam Clemens. Are you joking me? Sam Clemens, like Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens. I mean, Sam Clemens. Ridiculous. I talked about Sam Clemens and Mark Twain like probably a year ago. I made a whole bunch of stuff on him dealing with time travel. He's even in that movie called 88 Days in the Motherlode, a little documentary about him. And we talked about San Francisco. San Francisco adds up to 122, like Pope Francis. The Monetta, Virginia shooting was even on the Highway 122. Even Trainwreck adds up to 122. Interesting, too. I just typed in Mark Twain just to see what it came up to. Mark Twain, 110. This principal got saved by a guy with the last name Rollinger. Rollinger, 110. Not going to type it in, but my aunt's name adds up to 110. It also adds up to 56. And this guy, Rollinger, adds up to 110. And also, I erased it. I think you know what's coming anyway. 56. Just kind of weird. Funny, too, his full name here is 168, which I just said, oh, just skip over and not going to talk about it. But I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to talk about it. But actually, yeah, maybe I'll just make a part 2, because there is a few more things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to include Mount Rushmore like a week ago. I just forgot that I even wrote stuff down. It's not a whole lot, but, alright, yeah, I'll just make a part 2, so, see you in part 2.